Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Gatesy, that's Duke, we're Forged from Iron, and we're very fortunate enough to be joined by Irons United's Anton. How are we doing, sir?
Good, thank you very much, guys. Thanks for having me on.
No, pleasure to have you, mate. Thanks for making the time for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, how's things going your end, my friend?
Yeah, good, thank you very much. Just enjoying this season. It's been a crazy, exciting season, a bit of a different one for us, isn't it? But yeah, all things are good, and I think a lot of mind-changing things, like my opinion, have changed a lot on a lot of things. West Ham, Moyes in particular, from being underwhelmed to accepting, if not more than accepting, and it's been a big change for West Ham fans this season, definitely.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people were probably, when Moyes walked through the door, I think a lot of people were like, not so sure this is a sort of progressive step, but I think you look at it now and it's been an absolute, brilliant move. I mean, obviously he got us out of relegation for a second time, and what he's doing this season. I mean, if you'd have said to most fans, especially after the Newcastle game, you're going to be, with 10 games to go, 48 points and fifth, you'd have just looked at them and gone, really?
Absolutely.
What have you been smoking?
Yeah. And I think that's why the shift in the West Ham fans, and that's probably why a lot of fans were so disappointed with some particular performances this season, solely down to the fact that Moyes himself has changed things for West Ham fans. Because, sticking by Moyes and actually backing Moyes and letting Moyes do what he does has actually shown that if you commit and have consistency, then you may actually get something from it. I'm hoping it's not. I'm slightly concerned, if I'm being honest, about next season, because I'm hoping that we can be that consistent, and I'm hoping that, depending if we do qualify for some European competition, that we can withstand whatever we're doing. However, when I really start to dissect the West Ham team and I think about the core, this is probably one of the best cores I've seen for a long time. We've always talked about cores at West Ham, and you always talk about the dead wood. But when you look around our squad, and I know the whole point of this show is about what we're about to say, but there's not that much dead wood kicking about anymore.
No, he's stripped a lot of it away, to be fair.
Yeah.
So
I think, and to be fair with him, I think we're all kind of hoping for that period of, like you say, consistency that he certainly delivered at Everton. I mean, if he could bring that to us, that period of consistency where, listen, I'd be quite happy every season with pushing that top six boundary, 6th, 5th, 4th, in and around that kind of area. I said it when we got in the first time round, was that's what I was hoping he'd be able to deliver. That's what I was hoping that we'd see from him. Give him 2 or 3 transfer windows. Make sure that he's got sufficient cash to be able to deal across those, 3 transfer, 4 transfer windows, and we could see the beginnings. Unfortunately, wasn't given the opportunity, in my opinion. And I know a lot of fans didn't want him there in the first place. I know a lot of fans certainly didn't want him back. Me, for one, I wasn't concerned that he was coming back when he came back last year. I wasn't in any way. I wasn't under any delusions that we were a big draw for another big name manager to come in. That wasn't going to be the case. I would have loved to have seen a Tuchel come in, or a Pochettino, or but we're not. Let's be honest, we weren't that big a draw at the time that it happened. Now I think we could be. This finish, if Pochettino hadn't have gone to PSG, there's no reason why, if come the end of the season we didn't sign Moyes, that we couldn't have got him to come to us. So I think I just want that, like you say, the period of consistency taking us forward, and hopefully we'll see, the results of that. I just hope this season's not a fluke.
I think another concern for me was, when I going back to the whole kind of move to the London Stadium, and I will happily admit that, maybe not happily admit it, but I was totally sold on the move, totally sold on blah, 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 and very quickly knew where my loyalty lay after the first transfer window, when we didn't get the players initially. Very quickly we didn't get those players, and then the season that transpired after that, it was. Never forget the Watford game where Dimitri Payet done the Rabona and the header, and we were winning 2-0, and that first half was quite possibly one of the best first halves of football I physically saw with my own naked eyes, and the second half was quite possibly one of the worst games of football I've seen with my naked eyes. And then things started spiraling out of control. The reason why I'm bringing it up is because then we saw this whole kind of fluctuation, changing managers, and then it was going, well, if you want money, there's your money. Go and buy your £50 million players. Haller, look what's happened. Anderson, look what's happened. Yamalenko, look what's happened. Well, you never know what fans are going to say about these particular players. But then you've got someone like Moyes who's going, do you know what? I'm not going to go and sign the big time players. I'm going to go and find the relevant piece to the jigsaw. And if it's £20 million, if it's £5 million, if it's a free, then I'm going to bring him in if he fits our system and
what we're doing.
And he, as part of the channel that we do when the transfer season kicks back in, we do transfer shows. And what we do is, and we're very, again, transparent at the beginning, we're not remotely trying to be an ITK. We don't have no interest in being an ITK. But what we do is we tell you about the link, tell you if we believe the link, and and even if we do or we don't, we just tell you what the player would bring. But very quickly, you can work out the sort of player that Moyes wants. And quite quickly, you can eradicate a link very quickly because of the way that Moyes is looking at a player. So he's not going to take people who have got an attitude, not whatsoever, no interest in it. So that's what I like about Moyes. It's not that he's predictable. It's about the fact that he actually cares about football and genuinely acts like he cares about West Ham, albeit when he plays Manchester United and puts out a bit of a weird selection.
Liverpool. I just think that's his. I think that's his nature, and it was the same when he was at Everton. I don't think any of us can deny the fact that he was the same at Everton. He always set out a stall that was going to be kind of embarrassing in an afterthought when you think about what happens. But for me, I think going forward, I think I'm kind of convinced, not convinced. I don't know where I am at the minute.
I'm touching wood.
Is he going to learn going forward? I hope he will. I think when he gets the correct players, and I did a video not so long ago where I think we need at least seven new faces to be able to, put a bit of strength in depth. That's without selling anyone. That's without, without considering that we could do with 14, to be fair, but 7's the minimum. And I think with the 14 players that I actually looked at, we were looking at 230 million. Well, we know he ain't getting that to spend, so we can whistle that goodbye, to be honest with you. But it might take him 4 or 5 transfer windows. If he does, listen, I'm quite happy with what he's done so far. He's brought in, like you said, the right players, not just a player for his ability, but the player with his attitude and the personality that he brings to the squad. So, fingers crossed going forward that if he goes after El Nesri in the summer, he's the right person that, fits in, not just as a player, but everywhere else across the board as well.
Character.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Okay, so before we get down to the nuts and bolts of it, just 2 things. So anybody that's watching that is not familiar with Irons United and the work that they do, you've got all of their platforms there in front of you. Check them out. Some really good content for you to get your teeth into. So get it done.
Humorous. You may not laugh with us, but you laugh at us.
150 subscribers to your 5,640 as I laugh.
Don't worry about it. Who cares? It's banter, isn't it?
It's all a number.
Yeah.
Before we get down to the nuts and bolts, I'm going to do my usual shout out, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you that have watched the previous knows what's coming. Isla's Army. So Isla Caton, for those of you that don't know, is a young 6-year-old girl with neuroblastoma. This is a cancer that is really aggressive and it tends to affect children in the main. There is no treatment for this in the NHS in this country. So her family have got to put their entire life on hold and cart this little girl wherever it is that they've got to get the treatment. Now, this could be in Barcelona, this could be in the United States, could be anywhere in the world. So they've got to take her there to get her the treatment to save her life. Now, this is really expensive, the treatment, let alone also the accommodation, food, living costs for where they've got to go, as well as paying all their living costs back in the UK, mortgage and all the rest of it. So this is a really expensive thing. They need our help. It's real simple. So you've got a PayPal page, you've got a Just Giving page. I ask you to try and empathize with this family. If you've got anything you can put in the pot, whether it's £1, £10, £100, whatever it is that you can put in to help this little girl, time is of the essence, guys. Every day that goes past, the odds are getting ever more against this little girl. So please, please, please help if you can. If you can't put any money in the pot, all I'd ask you to do is to share this message far and wide. We need to try and keep the momentum going. We need to try and get this girl back healthy and safe. Thank you very much for listening. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, so I'll bring up the tier list. So we've got long-term players, 3+ seasons at the top. So these are players that Anton, if he was in the shows of David Moyes in the summer, would look at and think, all things being equal, these players are going to be at the club for 3 seasons as a minimum. The next category down are players that he believes would be at the club for 1, possibly 2 more seasons at best. But beyond that, their time at the club is over. The next category down is not sure. So these are players that he could, on one given day, go either way. And then the next one is C. Really simple. Your time at West Ham is over. So, Anton, without further ado, as Mills Lane used to say at the boxing, let's get it on.
Get it on.
So, we're going to go alphabetically initially. First player, Philippe Anderson.
Oh, I am an Anderson fan.
Okay.
Oh,
yeah, I am. I'm going to give you my kind of justification for it.
Yep.
When he played at Lazio, obviously we've seen what he did at Lazio. He was fantastic. He was getting at the defenses. He was always driving the ball forward. He was a creative, not over the top flary, but he was kind of, straight to the point. Bosh, straight on. Great first season at West Ham, and things took a bit of a change. And I think the biggest issue was playing him out on the left, playing him out in the wing. We've had managers that just don't like to. This is why I like Moyes, because he's willing to try some different shit. Am I allowed to swear? Hopefully, I'm allowed to swear.
Cool. Yeah, you're on.
Just try different shit, really, and to a certain extent, Moyes does. And when it comes to Philippe Anderson, I think that when he's playing out, he's completely wasted in a West Ham side when he's out on the left. However, when you put Philippe Anderson in that number 10 role, the number 10 role that you've got Lanzini, that people are calling out for, even if you put Benrahma, all that sorts of players, and I know we've got the Lingard just now. However, if you've got Philippe Anderson in that role, he is sometimes unplayable. And I'm going to give you the example. During that period under Pellegrini, when we played in the winter time, we went up to St. James's Park. We beat them 3-0 away from home. Then we went on a nice run of games and nice wins, and we nice bit of form coming in the Christmas period. That was down to 2 particular players. That was Felipe Anderson and Chicharito. They both hit form. Chicharito was getting supported, and Felipe Anderson was playing through the middle. Now, I know there's something not right there with Felipe Anderson in terms of, the move to Porto. It was away from the manager's head. So the manager didn't want the move, but he's there. He's not playing a lot of time. His head's down. He's lost the confidence. This is where I'm at. I'm not going to sell a player for 20 million like when we signed him for 35, like we did with Sebastian Haller.
Yeah.
So what's the point in just getting some money for the sake of it, when I think there are other players I'm willing to lose, when I think Felipe Anderson's still got a lot? We're talking about a player that has been, not as a has-been, but has been a Brazilian international footballer who's played at the highest level in Italy, who has not been really played perfectly well in his West Ham career, in and out, in and out, in and out. And I still think there's an opportunity for him. I absolutely believe that under Moyes, if Moyes can get him back and control him, and yes, we know we've got options in that position, but I think he is definitely worth keeping. And I'm willing to keep him for, I'm having a look here, 1 or 2 seasons just to see what happens, because I don't see the point in taking the hit. I don't see the point in taking like the Haller hit. Like maybe Haller hit was right. Maybe there was an attitude problem. I don't think Felipe Anderson's got the attitude problem. With what we hear, I think it's just dip in form that's maybe rolled out of control. But this is a couple of seasons. It's not worked out well for him so far. We thought the Porto move would go well, but we then realised through time it's not, because it wasn't the move the manager wanted. but I still think there's something there in Anderson. So I'm going to stick by the man that I think that can bring something out in West Ham, and I think he still can.
So if you was David Moyes, you'd try and find him a position as a number 10.
So if I'm David Moyes, so it's me, innit? It's me, really. It's me,
Yeah.
Anton, is David Moyes. Yeah. I know we've got Jesse Lingard. I know we've got other options. I get that. But having Philippe Anderson is, I think, are we subsidising some of his wages currently at Porto?
I believe so, yeah.
If we're subsidising some of his wages, I'd rather have an option of Philippe Anderson coming off the bench in that position. And I really I predicted actually earlier, before Philippe Anderson moved, I actually predicted that we may see, I thought Moyes would have tried the whole Arnautovic thing with Anderson. I genuinely thought he would, but he didn't do it. Because obviously he maybe found a bit of form with Antonio doing it, but he's got a history of doing things like that with players. And I just think there's still something there with Anderson. And I know I get the fan base. Do you know what? The fan base are right to tear into a player if the player doesn't want to be at the club. But you've never heard anything but positive stuff coming from that guy's social media platforms. He genuinely has a care for West Ham, and I love that. I love that about a player in particular, and in particular, I think he has got it. So I think this. Will Moyes do it? I don't know, but if I were Moyes, I would give him 1 or 2 seasons.
Well,
absolutely. Fair enough.
I tell you what, you're the first person to put him there. I put him in the bracket underneath for exactly the same reasons. If you go back to mine, I said the same thing. If Moyes can get a player back that Moyes can get working again, working hard, not just going forward, but learning to track back. Again, part of the reason me and Gatesy have already said that Cresswell's had a bit of a resurgence is he's got someone out on that left that's helping him defensively, which Anderson never did. Anderson came out of a league where your front 4 players were expected, or your front 5 players were expected to attack, your back 5 players were expected to defend, and that was the be-all and end-all. That's how the game worked in Italy. The front forwards attacked, they didn't have to defend, and then the backs did that job. So if he could get him back, and he can get him back in the right mindset, he can get him playing as well. He did. He had the game against Southampton is the first one that springs to mind. He was outstanding in that game. The goal against Palace where he cuts in and bends it, top bins. He's a talent, and I'd like to think that if Moyes could bring him back, it'd be bloody useful in the European tournament, whatever one we play. Fingers crossed.
Yeah,
that's what we're playing in.
Yeah, and that's definitely another aspect of it. It's like if we do qualify for something, we don't have squad depth. But you think about West Ham's current season, and if he's not a disruptive player, how beneficial would it be to have a Felipe Anderson on the bench? If we find a bit of form for Felipe Anderson and play him, I just don't want him on the wing. I know he was brought in. But it's he's literally had nearly 2 seasons in the wing. And one season was good and one season wasn't. And for me, it's a wasted position for him. The best time I ever saw his performances in a claret and blue shirt was during that winter period. We went up to St. James's Park. We hadn't won there for I don't know how many years. And we absolutely tore him apart. And it was a Philippe Anderson show. It really was. He was so effective in that role. So, yeah, for me, I would definitely like to see him stay. And no point in taking the hit. It's a bit like, well, he's sitting on the bench at Porto. He's doing nothing. Bring him back. Let him work hard. See what happens.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I think you've argued your point beautifully. To be fair, Anton, I'm almost reconsidering where I should put him. you brilliant salesman. Michael Antonio's next.
Love it. Love him. Absolutely love him. Do you know what? I'm just going to put him straight into long. Where is it? Long-term players. Future. Yeah. And do you know what? I know he's hammies. I know it. I get it. But since we've brought this guy in, he has given us absolutely everything. Do you know what? See, if he was a punch bag, he'd have been punched like fuck all the fucking time by managers and by fans. Because the amount, do you know what? Let's go back to Crystal Palace. Where we were winning? We had to see the game out. He's taken the ball to the corner. He's given it away. Crystal Palace have gone up and scored. He got terrorised.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrorised for that. And
Yeah.
I get it, right. But then after that, he was played in or before that, he was played in a wing-back position. He's played in a left-back position. He's played in the midfield. He's played up front. He has been abused everywhere. The guy's coming on our best ever goal time scorer in the Premier League. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and he will still come good. He's playing up top himself. No wonder his hammies are going. No fucking wonder. He's having it with Moyes in charge as well, who's saying like, you need to run from here, run there, do this, do that, do this, do that.
We've
you know what,
abused
Antonio?
him.
Yeah, we have abused him. I think that if we do make the transition in terms of, you know, I would love more than anything, as we all would, Champions League football. It's a dream. Hopefully we can get it. But if we do make that transition and West Ham do transit into, you know, that element that we were talking about, Duke, into the top six, you're going to need, whether Antonio starts or comes off the bench in the future, 3 years from now, if we've still got an Antonio, you know yourself, guys, even 30 minutes at the end of a game, he is going to terrorise people. He is a machine. He's an absolute machine. And especially for the value that we pay him for. In terms of Premier League football, it's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money in terms of Premier League football.
No, he's on pittance, isn't he, really?
And do you know what? He's humble. Love it. He loves West Ham.
Listen, when he's crashing his Lamborghini dressed as a snowman, I don't care. He can do what he needs to do. He's one of the boys, you know, and that,
100%.
you know, you said it yourself. I mean, I go back to the West Brom game earlier in the season when he went shoulder to shoulder in the centre circle with, was it Pereira? And I'm not quite sure where that lad ended up, but I still think he's floating somewhere in space because he just ran into him and the kid fell over, which last 25 minutes of a game, the foreign clubs aren't used to, you know, those teams in Europe are not used to someone with that kind of that strength, that just general bully boy attitude that he has. I'd be honest with you, I wouldn't want to go shoulder to shoulder with a guy, and I'm not exactly light and small, but I still wouldn't want to go.
But you know what? He's got the ability to be unplayable, 100%.
Oh, he's
got sometimes he's got such an not sometimes he's got an awkward style, and sometimes footballers like him, you know, he's consistent. He's consistently decent and good. And what an option to have, like not just off the bench currently right now, he's our main talisman. And he, you know, depending on what we bring in next year, he may be looking at bringing in a partner for someone like Antonio, or maybe looking into bringing in someone to give Antonio a rest to bring him off the impact. Either way, 3 more seasons minimum at West Ham. Happy days. Yeah.
No other striker like him, in my opinion, in the Premier League. He's so unorthodox.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even his career path, you look at it, he came from Tooting and Mitcham.
Yeah,
you know, it's ridiculous. And then went to Reading and Southampton and Nottingham Forest, and then that's where we've picked him up from. And I mean, he's a guy that I think you sort of touched on it earlier, where you sort of said he's quite grounded, sort of humble player, and I think a lot of that comes from basically his career path. You know, not so long ago he was playing non-league football.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Moving on, we got Fabian Balbuena next.
Interesting. I think he's a quality.
Try and talk him into staying.
So I used to play to standard up in Scotland up here. So I'm a centre half. So I've got a keen interest in defenders. I have battles every single week with Stell on our defence and players we should keep and players that should go. So if I were David Moyes, would I keep Balbuena? I think Balbuena's a good talent. I do. However, I would sell him. And I'll tell you my justification why. Because I can see players that are coming up, and also what we've got in the youth ranks. Yeah. But also what we've got. So let's look at Balbuena. We brought him in for not a lot of money, and we can probably sell him and make a decent profit from him. Good servant to the club. Quite possibly does want to go back to South America. And if he does, and his heart lies there and his head lies there, then there's no point in keeping a player for the sake of it. If that's going to happen, he'll probably, if he does go back, he'll find himself probably at a very decent club in South America that could potentially win things, get titles, or play to a decent standard. I really like Balbuena. I really, really do. However, I do think we've got enough in the ranks, not just in the first team squad, in the youth setup, and I'm talking about two particular players in Baptiste and Alessi, who Alessi just recently signed a new contract for the club.
Yeah.
I'm not joking, you guys. I've watched Alessi a few times, watched him in pre-season, and I've watched a few of the games he's appeared in. We have, in my opinion, one of the best talents of defenders we've had in so many years. I am so excited by Alessi. I really am. I really, really, really am. It's a big, I think he's such an exciting player. He played in the. Do you remember the day we played the pre-season game? We had two pre-season games in the same time. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Ipswich and Wickham, wasn't it?
Yeah, I watched the Ipswich game, which is what Alessi played in. I'm not joking you. He completely commanded that whole defence. He was absolutely dominating the defence. He was collecting the ball. He was playing the ball out just about a foot in front of him, looking up, heads up, finding players, spraying balls all over the park, spraying. And he was connecting with every pass that he was making. Then I love when you've got defence, you always have like one that steps out and one that sits back. So Balbuena's the sitting back defender, and Ogbonna and Diop are the stepping out defenders. And because Balbuena sits back, he clears up all the mess, And Alessi's like that. He watches the ball, he watches the player, he can read the game really well, and he makes a very, very good tackle. So I think Balbuena's like that. However, he kind of has stated, and where rumours are stating, that he wants to head back to South America. And if he does, then you can go, we'll make a profit, and I'll happily sell him. But good servant to the club, and respectful, and always be remembered for being a decent player. And that first season with him and Diop was good. He was just unfortunate. And I think he's been a little bit unfortunate this season. I think he was finding his form again, and then COVID stopped it. But then fair play to West Ham defence, and maybe that falls on David Moyes, maybe that falls on Stuart Pearce. I don't know, but the West Ham defence have definitely shored up, and each player has stepped up this season. Absolutely.
And I think I mentioned it on a previous one that we did earlier, Duke, where I turned around and said it was a bit of a sliding doors moment at Old Trafford in the Cup, because he was the player that was going to come on for Angelo Ogbonna. But because he felt something when he was warming up, David Moyes then turned and brought on Issa Diop. And since then, we haven't seen Fabian Balbuena in a first-team match for West Ham.
Yeah.
And you don't know. I mean, if he'd have come on in that match and he could have established himself in the first team, would he have maybe, sort of extended his contracts, extended his stay with us? Who knows?
I don't know. I think sometimes when it comes, when you hear in particular history with West Ham, South American players hinting that they want to go back, like they are across the other side of the world, and they've got a whole new, they don't watch the Champions League. They've got their own version of the Champions League. They've got their own version of the whatever league they play in. So, if his heart lies back in his homeland, nothing's going to stop him.
Go.
What can you do?
Nothing's going to stop him from going back.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
So,
Next one on the list, Saeed Benrahma.
I was so excited when we signed him. I really was. But there was two players we were linked to at the same time. And if you include the third player we weren't linked to, but we had Diangana, we had Benrahma, and then we had Etsy, who plays at Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
In the order of who I wanted and who I wanted to keep, it was Etsy to come in first. I'm not going to lie, 100% gutted we didn't get him. Still am gutted we didn't get him. Benrahma second, and Diangana I would have put third to go out the window. Not being horrible to him, but when it came to Diangana, it was like he has had about 17 Premier League games. He hasn't set the Premier League alight from the games he played at West Ham. Yes, he set the Championship alight. Yes, he did. I get the homegrown talent. Absolutely. 100% back that. However, not very often I agree with the board, but when you talk about a player that we've not made, that cost us nothing, and then you sell for 25 million, we've made a really nice profit, but then we slag people off when we buy a player for 40 and sell them for 20. It's got to work in the same way, in the same manner. I don't like selling the youth talent, but do I believe that Diangana would have made it? In my opinion, no. Not made it I'm not being horrible to him. I think he's going to have a good career, but I don't think he would have been what we were looking for. Signed Benrahma, absolutely over the moon. Bit confused at what Moyes is doing with him just now. I can't help it. I'm a little bit confused. I was sticking by Moyes with what he was doing with him. But I think Benrahma needs to play and needs consistency.
Yeah.
My concern here comes of, I need to remember this is me and not David Moyes. My concern comes that if David Moyes doesn't keep playing him and keeps dropping him, where's his head going to be at? Is this a player that we could potentially ruin? Not ruin his career, but ruin his time at West Ham because he's not fitting into the mould of what Moyes is looking for.
Yeah.
Damages confidence, sort of thing.
Damages confidence. I don't know. I really thought I would say 3+ seasons. I really, really, really thought I would. But I think I'm going to put him into the category with Anderson, 1 or 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I don't know what I would be intrigued to see what other people say in this one. But for me, I have saw enough. I think he's a really clever player. I really, really, really do. However, I don't know if maybe a lot of the fan base, me included, maybe thought that we were going to see Dimitri Payet 2.0. And we've not yet. Yeah. And we've not yet. And I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's where disappointment lies. I don't know. And it'd be great. Again, we could go on this topic of saying if he got a goal, would that be it? Would that be the thing he needs? But
I'm
David Moyes,
I'm not having that conversation.
but we don't know, and we don't know what David Moyes does. It doesn't matter if Benrahma scores a goal because David Moyes might not start in the next game. So it doesn't. Yeah. It's not that I'm digging out David Moyes for that, because I don't know how many times this season on the preview shows that we do that I've dug out David Moyes, and then he's proven me wrong by going and winning the game. So I've done it several times this season. So maybe Moyes, this is the reason why we're sitting here doing a YouTube channel and he's sitting there getting paid thousands of pounds to be the manager of West Ham.
Fair point.
So I'll stick him in the 1 to 2 seasons. I am a fan. I absolutely am a fan. I don't particularly like him playing out in the wing. However, I know he's quite effective out in the wing, supposedly. But I think he's another player I prefer to play through the middle. I like that middle. I don't know. We've got other players here we can talk about, but once you might hear me say I like him playing through the middle a lot tonight, and then realise I've said 10 players play through the middle, and you can only have a couple, so you can't.
Quite a few that can do it. In all fairness,
yeah.
I mean,
so
you're right. You can play number 10, no problem at all. But
yeah, so yeah, one or 2 seasons, and then maybe that 1 or 2 seasons can convince me it could be 3+.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything can move, as you say. Sort of, you could put him in this category.
Yeah.
This summer, and then next summer, depending upon how he performs in the forthcoming season, you might move him up, or you could even move him down, or 1 or 2 rungs. So
yeah,
it's always sort of fluid. So okay, next one on the list is Jarrod Bowen.
Long-term player, 3+ seasons. In my opinion, 100%. I think the guy's a quality player. I don't even know if he's lacked a bit of confidence. I think he's just played in a certain way. And I think a lot of people have slagged him off for his finishing or his final third, But see, when he gets on the ball and he moves forward, he is I need to be careful how I compare him. I'm not comparing him to Messi, but he's got a similar Messi style. It's like little tiny touches and his feet run really small, and he's just so effective. He cuts in, he cuts there, he does this, he does that. I swear to God, if he got a couple of goals, he'd be one of the most talked about players in the Premier League. I think teams do struggle with him. I really do think teams struggle with him. I think Stell's got an interesting stat about how he's substituted, the most substituted player, I think, potentially in the Premier League. Yeah. But I think he's definitely got a future. I think he's definitely one that's made the step up and can continue to make the step up. And I think if Moyes and me are looking at this whole new West Ham that we're trying to do, which is keep the young blood running through the club and finding players from the lower leagues who can make the step up, and players that have had an impact. We can't remotely deny that Bowen hasn't had an impact on the club, but I think he's definitely one for the future, 100 and now, so a longer term.
Yeah. So Gatesy, can I ask?
Yep.
Did you steal it from Stell, or did Stell steal it from you?
What
the stat about Bowen? Here's the question now: has he been watching ours, and has he nicked it when you've said it, or have you been watching their channel? And there's me thinking,
I guess he's
rethinking
probably
you know
heard it from the same source that I've heard it from.
Oh yeah. I see what
There
you're
is
doing.
there is a thing called the internet. I don't know if you've ever realised this. There's a lot of information out there. No one has ownership of it. You know, lots of people read
I think
it.
to be fair, I think sometimes you know, Still does his weekly show, and he's honestly see the amount of work he puts into that show.
Yeah.
It's mental. Like, and 1 week he didn't do it, and I said I would do it for him, and I really wish I didn't, because he told me what he did, and I was like, oh my word. And he's got this book, and he ticks off when a player's subbed, and this and that, and he was like, oh my god, he started seeing the. I'm not saying it wasn't you guys. I'm not saying it wasn't, but
no, I was just taking a piss out of Gatesy. So
and he's like, yeah, he said, by the way, we've got a player who's constantly substituted all the time, and then it fired out from there. But do you know what? I don't think Bowen gets pissed off when if Bowen gets substituted in the 90th minute, then do you know what? That's fine. See, when he sometimes gets substituted in the 70th minute, that's when I'm pissed off, because I actually think he's the sort of player that can impact it. And the funny thing is, I'd love to be able to that person who's got that magic ball and actually looks back and goes, if Bowen had actually stayed on the park, I wonder if he'd have committed to more assists and goals and changed games, because I think he's a game-changing player. I genuinely believe he's a game-changing player.
Yeah, no, I like Bowen. I think he's had a bit of a tough time of it this season. It's fair to say.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, again, this is something I've mentioned on previous broadcasts that we've done. It came out about a month or so ago, didn't it? That there was some health or medical issue that he's having to deal with. So you're never quite sure how is that impacting on his performances.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to make excuses for the guy, and it doesn't get away from the fact. And I do believe that in the final third, he does make the wrong decisions fairly often, shooting when he should pass, passing when he should shoot, and maybe not getting his head up as often as he ought to. But you know, how much is that issue impacting on him? It's a mitigating factor, I think. It's not an excuse, but it's a mitigating factor.
That could be down to the fact that, again, he's still maybe learning the David Moyes way. And the David Moyes way is he doesn't play with the strikers that maybe Bowen has been used to playing with in his previous career. And when he looks up, it's just Antonio. At the time, it was just Antonio in the box, and now it's Souček in the box or whatever. So I think there's definitely. I mean, he's still young enough, and he's got good amount of experience now. And I think he will get better. I really do think he'll get better.
Yeah, absolutely. Moving swiftly along, 5.4 million from Slavia Prague. The right back, Vladimir Soufal.
What can I say? He's long term, 100%. I mean, I remember doing his transfer video, and I've done a lot. We do a lot of research into all the videos, but in particular, I did with him. I think there was a strong rumor that we was going to come in, and it was pretty, legit. It was gonna happen. So I looked into him a lot, and very quickly you can see the style of player he is. He's got European experience. He's plays at the highest level in the Czech Republic. And if you look at his style of play, and when I look back at the video, it's probably the only transfer video I got right in terms of I predicted that he would come in and he'd be very good, where everyone else I've predicted it'd be very good hasn't, or someone I've predicted that would come didn't. So I'm slagging myself off, but I'm getting one right, and that was Soufal. His ability to get forward and get back is just fantastic. And I actually at the time described him before he came in as like a kind of Trent Alexander, getting forwards, can cross the ball and can get assists. And he's a no-nonsense defender. I remember one of the guys from Man United actually said it's Thomas Repka 2.0. I didn't believe it because his style of play wasn't like that. However, he is Thomas Repka 2.0 because he's a bit of a nut job, I think, as well. And I like that.
But he's got a winner's mentality, isn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, he's definitely one for the future. I love it. And I think he was FaceTiming the Slavia Prague lads last night when they beat Rangers in the Europa League, and he was on the cameras on the phone, and I love that. I love the fact that they've got a love and a care for the club they used to play for. It doesn't concern me in a bad way.
No.
Where other people will be like, you shouldn't do that. Well, of course you bloody should. It's good. It's good to show that he's and I think they do. I think him and obviously the player we'll talk about if he's in there later. Yeah, he is. I've definitely got a future. Yep.
Are we talking about the guy that likes potato salad here, Anton?
Yeah, absolutely.
Spoilers.
Yeah, no brainer. Yeah, so far, no brainer.
He's
3+ years. Yep.
Aaron Cresswell.
I am I don't know, how old is he? Do we know how old he is?
31.
Okay, 1 or 2 seasons for me. I don't want to sell him. I'm glad that Moyes has found his form again. I mean, he's got the most assists as a defender, doesn't he, in the Premier League? He has found his form. He has also found his form not just as a third centre back, but also as his left back again. And I think we were just crying out for him to find that form again. And he's got the right manager at the right time. And I actually think that if you put faith in someone like Cresswell, then you'll get paid back in abundance. And I think we're getting paid back in abundance. I think about West Ham under the previous managers, Bilic, Pellegrini, Moyes to a certain extent the first time he was around. And you look at our defence, we had no consistency in team selection in that defence. So each week, Cresswell was playing with different players beside him. It was either Ogbonna, it was either Diop, it was either Balbuena, it was this, it was that. Then it was a change of whatever. And then Matsuwaku was coming in and he wasn't playing. And then Cresswell was coming back in. And it was like that consistently for years. And that was my biggest concern. We conceded shitloads of goals for 7. We have done all our lives as West Ham fans. But in particular, I was looking at the last 5 or 6 or 7 seasons. I think we were conceding 60+ goals most seasons, and then there was a problem. But I think we even conceded like over 50, high 50s in the last season at Upton Park, but we outscored most of the teams. But we had inconsistencies even that season in defence. But Cresswell has found the form again, and I think, do you know what? When you've got someone like him who's got so much, Moyes likes the Leighton Bainesy, commit your career to one club, stay at the club for so long, find your form, keep finding your form. And then what we'll do with you, Aaron Cresswell, is we'll use your experience to mould whatever we've got coming in next. And I think that's what he may well do with Cresswell. I mean, he's been at the club now. I don't know how many years Cresswell's been at the club for, but
I think
long
7,
time.
I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long time, and he's looking very decent. So definitely get 1 or 2 more seasons out of him, 100%. And then we'll probably look to start bringing in someone else. I'm not sure if we've got anything in the youth setup in that particular position, unless he's trying his best to mould Ben Johnson. But we'll obviously talk about that in a minute. But
yes,
we don't know. We'll see. But yeah, 1 or 2 seasons definitely, because he'll still do a job.
No problem. Next player is one of our loan signings, Craig Dole.
Love him, absolutely love him. I'm going to say 1 or 2 seasons, if I'm being honest. I'm saying that because I think his age is about 30.
He's 30.
30.
Yeah.
Underwhelming signing who's proven probably every West Ham fan wrong, is he not? However, when you look at his history and every club he's played for, not one person has ever put him at fault. And he's got like, I don't even know if he's got an error leading to goal in his whole Premier League career. I think he scored before this season 16 Premier League goals. He's come into the club and he's found the right club, the right manager. And how can we fault his performances, what he's put in? He's found another defender who's willing to throw his body on the line to not let that ball cross the line or whatever. He'll even try and kick people's heads off to get rid of the ball as well. You know, he'll do anything in his power for that ball not to go in that back of that net. And he pops up with a goal here, there, and everywhere. And I'll say this about centre halves. I love Dawson because we were lacking players who sat back. He commands. He stepped in, and in my opinion, he's actually even brought Ogbonna on even more. And I'll talk about. I think we're going to be talking about Oggy. Yeah, we are. I've got a really kind of interesting opinion on when it comes to Oggy, but I think Dawson's really helped because Dawson solidifies that defence. He sits back and protects whatever Oggy does. Oggy steps all the time. Oggy steps out all the time. All the time he does it. He never doesn't not do it. He always does it. He can't help himself. It's what he does. But when he plays, when you've got Oggy and Diop beside each other, it's an absolute disaster of a defence because both of them like to go like that. They've got no one in to protect. But if you've got Dawson that sits in behind or Balbuena that sits in behind, then you can let Augie go and do his job, or you can let Diop go and do his job. And Dawson is, if you watch the games, he talks. He is the most vocal guy at the back of that defence. I love it. I think it's great. Great ball watching player, great football brain. And I think, just now it's 1 or 2 seasons. However, that could jump up because he could be that longer term backup option in the future for West Ham as well. So at the age of 30, he's still got another 4 or 5 years in him. But yeah, right now it's 1 or 2 seasons.
And I think if I'm right, is it one more game he's got to play, and then that triggers?
Yeah, I think that I've heard that.
2 million.
Yeah, I've heard that.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. 2.2 million to get him in. I mean, what he's done for the club. I mean, he could be questionable up there for Hammer of the Year as well.
Yeah,
and
considering that he didn't play the first half of the season, for him to even be in the conversation, shows you.
But we would equally
he's had.
Yeah, because you could equally turn around and say, well, Augie could be up there for selection for Ham of the Year, but he's only played 1 half of the season until, or just a little bit over until his injury came in, and if he doesn't come back, depending if he doesn't come back, But I think it's about bringing in the player who does something not just for what he individually does, but what he does for the team and what impact he has in that team. And Dawson has had an impact, and it's actually quite visual to see what he's done. Like, everyone talks about him. He is up winning headers. He's getting like nice, beautiful looking tackles, and he scores really, really good goals. See his goals in particular. He throws his body in the line. He doesn't give a shit. He's like, I will throw my head at that ball. Whoever's in the way, they're in the way. And I absolutely love that style. Like, I love it. I love him a bit. I think he's quality. So yeah, 1 or 2 seasons.
Before I move on to the next player, 1-word answer: should he have got in the latest England squad?
So for anyone that doesn't know, I support England. I am born and bred in Scotland, but I've got an English father. He's brought me up to be an England fan. It's not my fault. It's just what happened, right? So you can slag me off all you want.
It's fine.
Doesn't matter, right? So, and I've actually been to quite a few England games as well, and I always get slagged off when I'm there. But I accept it anyway. West Ham's my first thing, though. West Ham is my first thing, and So protecting Dawson. Do you know what? Yes, he should have. Yes, you asked me for 1 word. Yes.
No problem. We move on. Issa Diop.
For the sake of this one, I'll put him in not sure.
Yeah.
I want to say 1 or 2 seasons. I do kind of rate him. I think he's been unfortunate. I mentioned it earlier on. If you play Diop and Ogbonna, you're not going to have a good game. You're not. The two of them, because of their style of play, are going to make too many mistakes. No one's going to be there to sweep it up. But you put Diop beside Dawson, which is what you're currently seeing. Apart from the last game, do you know what? Even the last game, I thought they actually had a decent performance. I think Diop had one bad touch. It was like a trampoline touch. I think the ball hit his foot and it bounced away. But apart from that, I actually thought Diop had an okay game. I thought Dawson had an okay game. But I'm not sure because of the other players that we've potentially got and what he could bring in terms of value, money-wise. We've signed him. He's probably one of our assets that we could probably generate more than what we paid for. I genuinely believe, well, it depends on the market coming out of the COVID, but if there was no COVID and this was all recovered, I think we could probably regenerate more than what we paid. But that's just my opinion. Yeah. I mean, I don't mind him. Having Diop, Ogbonna, Dawson, and who is our Balbuena currently, Moyes said he wanted 4 centre-halves. I would rather have Diop than Tarkowski. So I'll put him in the not sure, but Tarkowski, we nearly paid what? Could have paid 35 million for that centre half, and he's having a terrible season at Burnley, and he's maybe that's because his head's turned. I don't know, but
I'll tell you what I'm going to do. You've got him in not sure at the minute. I'm going to give you. I'm going to let Duke pop in, and then if at the end of that conversation you want to change your mind because of what he says, I'll
Go
allow
on,
it. Duke, hit him.
Right, I can be quite convincing on this one because I actually do believe it. So, we spoke earlier about Anderson, didn't we? And the way that Moyes has a habit of changing a natural position for a player. So, started with Declan Rice. Declan Rice was a centre back when Moyes first came in. Moving forward, CDM, it's worked hands down all day long. Arnautovic, was a winger. Turned into a striker, became the best bastard we've ever had. I loved him. Antonio, he was a winger, wasn't he? He's now our striker. Diop. So a couple of weeks ago, I saw a report. I think it was on the Hammers News website that there's an option for Moyes to have his backup for Souček and Rice already in the squad, and that is Diop playing as a deep line midfielder. But he likes to carry the ball. You said it yourself earlier. He likes to step forward, which when he's at centre back, he's playing alongside Oggy. Generally game over. They both like to step forward, but with Diop, he likes to carry the ball. Hasn't got the greatest of passing range, but he's still young enough to learn as he goes along. He's only 23. They likened his running style and his gait to someone like Patrick Vieira, very tall, very lanky. Like I say, likes to carry the ball, looks comfortable carrying the ball. Would you, if you, and this is basically the idea for this episode, your Moyes, would that be something that you'd consider doing? Would you try and move him from being a centre back to being a deep lying midfielder?
I mean, to be the understudy to Souček and Rice, I mean, I don't doubt for a second he's maybe got some ability, but I think personally, we need a ready, molded player who plays in that position, because in my opinion, and I think everyone else's opinion, Souček and Rice are just unbelievable. Like, I feel so privileged to be able to see the two of them play at our club right now.
Yeah.
The way that everything that they're doing in that middle of that park, the understanding that they've got, and I don't know. I get it. I do get it, but I don't know if Diop has got that there. My concern would be that his touch isn't great, whereas Souček's and Rice's is. But I am comparing him to our two potentially best players at the club. I don't know.
He's not changed your mind.
He's not convinced, is he?
No, I'm not. No. I don't think I am.
Fair play. I think you're the first person I haven't.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get the sentiment.
Yeah.
I'm there anyway. I mean, I'm there in terms of 1 or 2 seasons. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. I think Souček and Rice are going to be really fucking tough to follow. And I think we've been extremely bloody lucky that nothing's touch woods.
Yes.
Yeah.
Touch Groot. Yeah, just to let you know, it's a little Groot. My son's Groot.
I'm Groot.
I got Spider-Man. Don't worry about it.
I love it.
But the only reason I've got Spider-Man is because if you look at the colours, it's very much claret and blue on this one. It's not like red, so that's why he's there in my West Ham room.
Next on the list, we got Lucas Fabianski.
1 or 2 seasons, only down to the fact that I'm a massive fan of. I love Fabianski. I think he's great. Keepers like him with his experience have definitely can play longer than they can. However, I am all for West Ham looking at new number ones and also potentially promoting within. Clubs all over Europe, and particularly in Italy, promote youth goalkeepers straight into that first team, and they go on to have 700 appearances in their whole career, being very successful. Apparently, we've got 2 very good young players, Anang and Trot, in the ranks. And I get really frustrated that we don't feed these. We don't feed a lot of youth, but we certainly don't feed the keepers at all into the setup. I know Trott came on against Man United in the FA Cup, I think, 20 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever he had. Never had a lot to do, to be fair. But I mean, if they're saying, I mean, what's the bloody harm in throwing one of these players in there? I mean, you know, especially in a cup or in the Premier League, like, just do it. Like, people say you need to go out to the Championship and get experience. No, you fucking don't. No, you actually don't. You can get your experience in the Premier League. People used to say, well, if he hasn't made it in the League 2, he won't make it in the Premier League. Well, that's shite, because there's so many players that have done that in the past who can't make it in League 2 but can play in League 1 or can play in the Championship or can play in the Premier League. So I'm all for giving the younger players a shot, but I think the Fabianski experience is so much to West Ham. Arsenal, Swansea, his international career, West Ham, he's got so many appearances under his belt. He's a good shot-stopping goalkeeper. I remember West Ham playing Swansea. I remember West Ham playing Arsenal, or probably actually Swansea, because we were expected to win games convincingly when they were struggling, and we didn't because Fabianski kept them. And he, I think there was a stat one season, I need to look into this again, that I think he had like the most. He kept Swansea up. People were saying that's what happened. It was Fabianski that kept Swansea up. So yeah, 1 or 2 seasons he'll stay on, and he'll keep the players kind of ticking over, and they'll learn so much from him. And I know there's another player up here in a minute that apparently we've brought in for that reason, but I think Fabianski is going to be that guy.
Cool, no problem at all. Okay, so next one is Pablo Fornals.
Love him. 3 years plus, definitely.
Boom.
Baffled that Moyes has done what he's done with him. He's turned him into a different player. Like, he was signed to be this tricky player, interesting, exciting player, and he is. However, he's also turned him into an absolute machine. Workhorse, gets stuck in, doesn't complain, doesn't moan, gets forward, can score goals. People have complained about the final third again. I get it. He's been in those positions. However, you're talking about a player that Moyes has actually transformed into something that he's not normally doing, and he's doing it with abundance. We call upon Fornals to play in games when we need players to cover ground. Holy shit, he covers ground, and he's everywhere and anywhere. And he genuinely looks like he's really enjoying himself at the club as well. So, you know, you want players like that motivated to stay at the club and keep progressing and keep pushing forward and doing that. So Fornals is a no-brainer for me.
Yeah, no, I think he's been brilliant. And I've said it previously, and I'll say it again. I think he's a big part of the reason why Cresswell's having such a good season, because he's playing in front of him and offering him that protection that he never had when Anderson was playing there. Yeah.
And also you can play Fornals in different positions as well. So we know that Moyes likes that. So I think that's what Fornals offers is opportunity throughout, to be honest, in that kind of midfield. So yeah, absolutely.
No problem. Ryan Fredericks is next cab off the rank.
I'm putting him in 1 or 2 seasons. I'm definitely not in the camp of disliking him. I like him. I think he has just been a little bit unfortunate in terms of I mentioned earlier on about inconsistencies in team selections and stuff like that. And I think, what was the game that Moyes put him in that wing? Was it Aston Villa game? Yeah. I remember everyone was like, "What the fuck? What are you doing?" At the end of the game, we were like, "Holy shit, what's happened?" It's like and it just changed our opinion. But I mean, he had a fantastic season when he was at Fulham. He's been all right at West Ham. I think he's young enough and ugly enough to still learn his trade. I still think he's got something in his tank. But I'm willing to give him 1 or more 2 seasons, especially if we've got European football coming up, because we're going to need strength and depth, and I think he's definitely worth keeping. And I don't see the value, like, you know what? What would you sell Fredericks for? 5 million? I can't see it being 10 or anything like that. Is that really worth it? No, for a player that's been there, unless you find someone else who's going to be, you know. But the fact that he can now, in theory, play in different positions, and he caused Aston Villa problems that game. His pace caused Aston Villa problems that game. And if we've got a player that can be utilised like that, then absolutely keep him.
No problem. Next one's Ben Johnson.
Really like him as well. Feel sorry for him though. I always feel sorry for him. I think his confidence is shot a bit.
Yeah.
However, I think. Do you know what? Here we go. If Ben Johnson was to leave the club tomorrow, I'd be fucking gutted. I would feel the same way, even though I said earlier on about Diangana and even about Ngakia. Like, Ngakia came in and performed really, really, really well. And then when he left, albeit he wanted to go, I was pissed off about it. I would be pissed off about Ben Johnson. I do think there's a talent there, but we're talking about a player that plays left, right, 1 week, right the next, left the next week, right the next. And he's, so he's stepping up to the plate in terms of doing what he's doing. He's scored a couple of goals. 1 or 2 seasons for me, 100%.
Do you think next season's make or break territory for him?
Possibly, yes, but then that depends on what West Ham, like, are we in Europe? Are we playing games week in and week out because we're going to need these players? So do we find another versatile squad player of Ben Johnson's quality who's willing to sit on the bench and come off the bench and turn up and do a job? I don't know if we can. Do we need to? Probably not. Have we got it in the ranks there with Ben Johnson? I think so. So I'd happily stick with him.
Duke, I'll just throw this open to you and then I'll come back to you, Anton. What's his best position? Left or right fullback?
So you love this, don't you? You love getting my 5 pence on this one. I mean, he's a right-footed player. For me, I think he looks more comfortable on the left. He doesn't strike me as the sort of player that's going to race down the wing like your Trent Alexander-Arnold or those of that ilk are going to race down the wing, beat the man on the wide, and whip across him. So there's no point in playing him on the right side as an overlap. You've got Soufal who can do that. We're talking about James says it himself, doesn't he? I think a player who's right-footed needs to play on the right, left-footed player needs to play on the left. Well, Bowen's left-footed and Bowen plays on the right. And Yamalenko, who is a established international with so many international games and goals under his belt, he's also a left-footed player that plays on the right because these players cut in and score. I still stand by the fact that Johnson, for his goal against Brighton, if my mind serves me,
correct,
the confidence and the calmness that he showed when he put the ball in the back of the net, because he was on the left, it fell to his right foot. He was calm, he was confident, and that ball found the back of the net because of that. If he'd been on the other side, or if he was a left-footed player, he's snatching at that with his right foot, and that's going so far into the stand, it's going to reach row A. Right? Yeah. So I think that took a while. For me, I think he's more comfortable with playing down the left and playing the players in. He's going to let the players who can play.
Yeah.
But like Dawson lets those that can play. He does what he needs to do. And Anton said earlier, he stick his body in the way. He'll do everything he needs to do, but he'll then let those that are comfortable on the ball and can run with the ball and everything else, you go do your bit, I'll just do mine. And Johnson reminds me of one of those. Stick him out on the left and just let the players play and let him do what he needs to do.
Yep.
What about yourself, Anton? Left back or right back for you?
I probably agree. I do agree with you, Duke, actually, to be honest. I literally can't add anything to that, to be honest. Yeah, left.
Fair enough. Next player coming on is Manuel Lanzini.
It pains me to say what I'm about to say.
I know what's coming.
It does pain me to say it, but I'm gonna say see ya. I think see is so harsh.
Yeah, it is what it is.
It is what it is. I'm contradicting my comment here, but I'm a massive Lanzini fan. I am. I think the injury knocked his confidence absolutely. However, his performances of late, coming off the bench, being a ball carrying player, have actually been pretty decent. I think he is a particular player that Moyes hasn't particularly managed that well. I think Moyes is a good manager of players, but I don't think Moyes has managed Lanzini well. And I think we all know what he's capable of, and I don't like living in the past. However, when you play a Lanzini beside a Payet style player, you see the best of him come out. And I think I go back to Crystal Palace earlier this season. We were down 1-0 to Benteke's goal. we needed to make a change because we needed a ball carrying midfielder, and Lanzini came on in the second half. We drew the game 1-1, but Lanzini changed the game, and he's done that through most of the subs appearances that he's made this season. Of course, the Tottenham game, we can go on about the Tottenham game, but out with the Tottenham game, he's done it. He has done it. He came on and he's bettered our performance. But the but is, we need big time players. We need players potentially that can come in and step in and challenge for the first team spot, and really challenge for the spot. Now I know Lanzini, obviously Argentinian, but he's also played in is it the Saudi Arabian League or the?
That's where we got him from.
Yeah. So I mean, he's an asset. I still think he is an asset. I still think we could probably earn quite a bit of money from him. I don't think he would go to another Premier League club. I think he would find his way back somewhere closer to home. And I think we can probably sell for a decent bit of money to generate more money to bring in a player that potentially could challenge for the first team. He's not a Moyes player. Moyes does like him, I think, but I would be willing to let Lanzini go. He's been a great servant. I do really like him. I don't want to let him go, but I feel like I have to let some players go, and it would break my heart, but I would let Lanzini go.
Yeah, I think most West Ham fans feel a very similar way to you, Anton, in that we love the Manuel Lanzini, the player that he was, but it's fairly clear that it's not the player that he currently is. And it do him any favours to keep him as what is essentially at the moment, he's a bit part player.
He doesn't deserve that. He really doesn't.
No.
I mean, he's been a fantastic servant, and I hate using that phrase because, Christ almighty, it's a horrible phrase to use about one of your core players. You know, he's been brilliant for us. You said it yourself there about his time when he was playing with Payet, and what I see now is I see Lingard and Benrahma as the new Payet Lanzini combo. You saw it in the game against Villa, the way that that Benrahma and Lingard were, their interplay was fantastic. And I just, like you, as much as I hate to say it, it is time for him to move on. And if we can get 15 million that PSG were banding around, back in the transfer window, then so be it. If it means that we can use that £15 million to invest in the Lingard deal and bring Lingard in, then it's a no-brainer for me. That's what we're going to need to do. But with heavy heart, much like you, I don't want to see it go.
Yeah, no,
it's one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, you don't want to do it, but. And speaking of Jesse Lingard, he's the next one off the list.
Fire him right up to that top tier.
Get the deal done.
Yeah, I do remember this one. I remember this one from a conversation I had with the guys at Irons United in a group chat about a year ago. And I don't know why it came up, but it did. And I said I'd signed Jesse Lingard. And I remember the chat going off in one, slagging me off, laughing their heads off. Ha, 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 ha. What are you talking about? He's not done this. He's not done that. He's not done this. He's not done that. But he was one player that I did actually really enjoy watching when he was on form. He was exciting. He was interesting. He was up for trying new things. But one of his biggest assets was his ability to press. And we've lacked that really for such a long time. And until he came in, we lacked it, and then also closing the gaps between the midfield and the forward line. And then if we believe in everything what Moyes is doing and what I would do if I was Moyes, which is, I'm not going to bring in a player unless you've got the right attitude. And we all know that Jesse was not potentially in the right space of mind when he was a couple of years ago or a year ago, having problems at home, having problems on the pitch, social media, all that sort of stuff. He's calmed it down. He's found the right club, found the right manager who's going to bring him in, use him to the best ability. And do you know what? We've got a fantastic player here, right? And every Manchester United fan, we've had quite a few on the channel actually, doing I keep jumping around, the reviews or previews. And they absolutely love him. But you're talking about Bruno Fernandes is really the one that's kicking him out. You're talking about one of the best players, questionably, in the world, is keeping Jesse Lingard out of that team. And all the Manchester United fans absolutely love Jesse, and they're split. They would have him back, and half of them would sell him just because they want to see him go on to good things, not sell him because they don't like him. They absolutely love him. So he's obviously got that warming effect, and he definitely has a positive effect on the side. I love the fact that he wants to take the penalties. I love the fact he wants to grab the ball off of Declan Rice, and Declan Rice tells him no. I love it. I absolutely love it because it's passion, it's care, and he wants to score goals for the team because he thinks he can do it. That game against Villa, it wasn't just the fact he scored really good goals, it was the difference in West Ham. When he's on their field, West Ham play differently. If he was playing against Manchester United, we would have played differently because Jesse Lingard forces West Ham forward. He doesn't understand deep. He doesn't get it. I bet if he went in a swimming pool, he'd be in the shallow end all day because he doesn't understand the deep end. It doesn't make sense to him. He wants to always be pressing. And that is what Jesse Lingard does. And he's definitely got a future at West Ham. I would definitely build a lot of whatever our forward things are doing. I mean, some of the strikers we've had in the past would love to have played beside of Jesse Lingard. And I bet you Jesse Lingard could bring the best out of players like Anderson, could bring the best out of players like Benrahma, like you said, Duke, that performance that him and Benrahma played together. And yeah, absolutely. No-brainer for me. Excited by him. I'm
going to play a little game here with you two because I'm an evil bastard. I was doing a podcast yesterday with Hammers Chat on the forum channel, and they played a little game with me, so I'm going to turn it around, and I'm now going to play it with you. So Jesse Lingard in the summer. So you're David Moyes, and I'll go with you first, Anton. Do you pay 20 million for him?
Yes.
25?
Yes.
30?
Yes.
35?
How old is he?
He's 20, turns 29 in December. But he's only played, here you go, here's another little piece of information for you. Including international games, he's played 290 games in his career. Not an awful lot for a guy who's 29 in December.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I tell you why?
Yep.
Because he's had such a fucking positive impact. He's had he's just been recalled into the England squad. He has had such a positive impact in West Ham, and do you know what? See, when he was playing on his top form at Manchester United prior to COVID, what was his value then? So just because he's had a couple of bad seasons and he's found that form again, and he's still only 28, turning 29 soon. Like, I don't want to spend 40. I don't want to. I get it. I don't want to spend the 40 million, but do I want to lose Lingard? No.
45. Where would you draw the line? Where do you think the line's drawn?
I'll say 40.
David Moyes,
but it's not going to be 40, right? I know I'm exaggerating here. I know it's not, but if you were saying to me, if I was in David Moyes' shoes and Manchester United were holding me to whatever, I don't know any other player that currently would fit into that system, who's currently been playing at the club, who's had such a positive impact, who can actually help the players that we've got, enhance them, bring them forward. Is £40 million an investment into a player and into West Ham a good investment for a player that knows the club, has been scoring goals, who's been recalled to international level, who's progressing the team forward, who could probably attract other players? Quite possibly, yeah. So, yeah. Don't know if I've sold it or not, but...
Luke? 40 million, is that too much, or would you keep going?
I mean, no. See,
where would you draw the line?
Knowing our board, it'd be 40 million, but paid at £5 a month for
with dildos.
Plus a sex toy for each of the wags at United. No, I mean, listen, if they structured a deal in such a way that it was based around assists, goals, appearances, etc. Yeah, it's a no-brainer going to 40, 45 million. It really isn't, because as Anton just said, you're not just investing in a single player that's going to come into the club to do a job. You've got to look at what else he's going to bring in. You're now sitting on 2 England internationals that quite arguably could have quite easily been 4 in this, with Dawson and with Cresswell, putting their foot in the door as well. But you're looking at two England internationals that, let's be honest, if we go into the transfer window, and you've heard me say this before, Rob, and Anton touched on it a minute ago, get the deal done. Listen, we all know that the transfer window opens on July 1st. But we also know that deals don't only get done when the transfer window is open. So pick the poxy phone up, write an email, get your fax machine switched on, get that message up to whatever his bloody name is up at Man United that deals with all of this shit. Well, here's your 20 million, open your checkbook, get the deal done. So when the 1st of July comes around, he's a West Ham player already. Don't give Everton and Leicester the chance of coming in and going, we'll give you 22. Don't start a bidding war. Get it done now. For me, that's the key. Get it done now. But no, I agree with Anton. If we could structure it in such a way, 40 million is easy. It's a no-brainer.
I don't doubt for a second. I mean, we're not going to sign him for 40 million. But the thing is, I get the sentiment behind the question. The thing is, am I willing to lose Lingard? No. I don't want to lose Lingard. And so therefore my value starts to, I can inflate my price because I don't want to lose him. And if I was Moyes, I'd be like, who can I bring in who can do what he's done in a positive mindset? That's a tough decision to make. And maybe Manchester United might know that, and maybe they might play the game a bit. I don't know.
Yeah. No,
you couldn't blame them if they do, though.
Yeah.
I was only being an evil bastard because, like I say, I was asked the question yesterday. So I'm just throwing it out there.
I watched it earlier. I did. I do watch the stuff you're on. I don't just have to sit here and watch you on our screen. Yeah, you're all right. I don't listen to you. I just watch it.
Thanks. David Martin.
He's been brought in as I don't know. He's been brought in as this kind of future coachy guy. But I don't know. I'm.
This is purely as a player, I should stress. So if it's,
I know. Right. Okay. I'll say. I'm going to put him in. No, I'll put him in. Not sure. I'll tell you why.
Okay. Yep.
Because when he has played, he's been all right. I don't know how many games he's played. Is it 2? 3? Chelsea game, great performance.
4 maybe.
Yeah, and then he had a couple of iffy performances, but it wasn't really his fault. Defense, blah blah blah. However, he's obviously a good lad to have in and around the squad. He obviously brings a really nice vibe, and he seems really friendly. Gets on with everyone, and that's something you definitely want in your squad. So yeah, not sure.
5 in answer to your question.
5. There you go.
Yeah.
So yeah, not
Fair
sure.
enough.
Not sure. Stroke. See you.
Yeah.
But saying see you to him is what he's not going to add. He's not going to bring any money in. So
nah. Arthur Matsuwaku's next, who is playing a game with the 23s, I do believe.
He is. He is back, and he started.
Yeah.
He started the game tonight. I don't know what the score was, so be interested to know. 1 or 2 seasons for me. I'm not on. I'm kind of here and there with him. But I think Moyes has found the right position for him, and it works in the right formation. So yeah, I think there's definitely something worth sticking on, especially if we've got, hopefully, touch wood, a European season. We're going to need. See, the thing is, and I know you said at the start there, you were talking about like the amount of players we need to bring in, 7, 14, etc. I just, as long as we don't do what we did when we did play last European football, when we brought in the Fagulis and the Nordvites and the Gokantors and the Zazas. You know, all those names. It felt like we were signing players because we were playing European football. So we just thought, let's go and sign 7 players, but they're 7 average players. I would rather, and I know we all would rather 4 good fucking top-notch players than 14 shit ones. And I know, but I get the sentiment behind that as well. But I think Matsuwaku, I think there's players in our squad that work, and I think he's one that will still work for us. But a couple of bad injuries he's had now at the club as well. So we need to be kind of careful in terms of what his kind of future is like with that, and it'll be interesting to see how he came through the game tonight. But I think he's definitely got 1 or 2 minimum. I'd give him.
It wasn't a good result this evening.
Oh, was it not? No,
we lost 3-1.
But do you know what?
They're struggling, aren't they?
But the 23s is an interesting one because you can look at the lineup one week and it's completely different the next week, and then you could set up for playing Leicester. in the under-23s thinking that they're going to put this 11 team out and then put a completely different 11 team out. So it just I think they use it for the purpose of, does the individual performance, can he work through the game?
Yeah.
Can he perform? Because if Matsuwaku has performed okay, I'm not saying he's obviously not going to be in the squad for Arsenal, but he might be in the squad for the next game, and then he's not involved in the under 23s. So I don't know. It'll be interesting, but 1 or 2 seasons for me, yeah.
Yep.
No worries. Now we've gone alphabetically all the way here, guys. This is where I changed tack for reasons that will become apparent later. Now we're going Andrei Yamalenko.
Okay. I was a massive fan of Yamalenko. Massive fan. Thought he was a great player. Thought he was a talented player. Thought he always had something in his tank. Think he's a good impact sub. It's a tough one because what value does he hold? What will he bring in if we were to sell him? And if we do play European football, having European experience and having, a thin squad, I'm not going to put him in C. I'm concerned about his injuries, but I'm willing to put him in not sure just to see how he gets on. And I tell you again, it's just down to the fact that I'm purely basing it on the fact that I don't think we're going to bring in shitloads of players in the summer. I really don't think we will.
I agree.
And we're going to need a lot. We've got a thin squad as it is, and we're going to need players firing on all cylinders. Yarmolenko is a good impact sub, I think, and I would happily potentially say, I'm going to put him in not sure. I'm going to put him there. I don't know. It's a tough one. I find it a tough one.
First person that's not put him in the bin. And I think we've had about 10, 11 now.
Because what value is he going to bring in? Like, he has not got the best. He's not got his injuries aren't that great, but he could be a big time player. Duke, you mentioned it, Chelsea, the Everton game in particular, and if we do get a European night, a guy that's got a lot of international experience, scored a lot of goals for Ukraine. He's got European experience as well. That experience can travel far. I'm putting him in not sure. I don't know. I'm here or there really with him, to be honest.
Yeah, no.
To be fair, you've got me convinced. I'm not going to lie to you. You've actually you're saying what you're saying, but it is, and it's the opinions of others. I mean, I can forge my opinion of. I don't think he offers us anything. I don't think there's anything there now. The injuries and everything else, his burst of pace has gone. There doesn't seem to be much left there. The injuries seem to have knocked it out of him. But then when you think, when you weigh up what he's going to bring in, okay, it'll take a lot of money off.
It would take a lot of money off the wages, yeah.
But it's going to bring nothing in, and if you're going to let him go, and then you're going to be looking at maybe bringing in, another player on higher wages. But even if you just say, right here, look, we'll cancel your contract, go home, go back to Ukraine, go do a job wherever you need to do, but it's not here, and then we still have to sign someone with the money that we're not getting for him because all we're doing is cancelling his contract, but then we've still got to pay them wages. It makes sense that he could just be that squad player for the European games, or even offering something else to give the players a break during, a cup weekend, if you will, League Cup, FA Cup.
Yep.
Cool. So, next one is the potato salad king, Thomas Souček.
Unbelievable player, long term. Just can't believe how good he is. I remember we signed him, and then I think he played the Liverpool game. Was before the lockdown.
Yeah,
and we done Match Day Live, which is our version of the watch alongs we call it. And there was 4 of us on the screen, and I remember we were having such good banter through it. However, people were commenting on the video going, no one's commentating, so I decided to start really properly commentating on the game. And every second word I was saying was Souček, 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 Souček. And then he got injured in like the 60th minute. And he came off injured, and that's where our game went to fucking pot.
Yeah.
And from then onwards, he's been so effective. What I found really interesting about Souček was, though, I think he played the game before the Liverpool game, and he really struggled in his first game. Then he struggled in the first game of the season this season, and then he struggled in Project Restart the first game. It's like it takes one game for him to just click into gear, and see when he's in gear, he's unstoppable. I mean, he's box to box. He's supposed to be a defensive midfielder, stroke striker, stroke again. You know what I loved? I think, who was the game we played against recently? And he got boshed in the head, cut in the eye.
Spurs, yeah.
And he fell to the ground, and he got straight back up, and he was like this.
Second ball.
Defended the second ball, and then when the ball was cleared, he collapsed on the floor.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is West Ham. That is what fans want. That is what fans want. That is what we want. That is what you will. I would have been at that game and celebrated that exact moment like a bloody goal, because he would have been like that. Fucking yes, Souček. And that's what I did at the screen. I was like, yes, going mental. That was brilliant. Brilliant from him. So yeah, great player, great find. Yeah. And he's obviously agent. He's a scout. You know, can't complain.
Here's something for you, Anton. So we bought him for, I believe it was 19 million, and Barcelona have apparently said 26 million.
No chance.
Is that a good deal, do you think?
Nope. I go back to
they got to double that at least, haven't they?
Well, I would still say no, and I'll tell you why again. Yeah. Do you remember Rio? Stupid question. Of course, you remember Rio Ferdinand. We sold him for 18.
Too young. I don't remember. I'm far too young.
We sold him for £18 million to Leeds.
Yeah.
We took the money when we had a good player on our books.
Yeah.
And we signed Rigobert Song.
Brilliant.
And we signed Titi Camara.
Great.
But it just shows you that sometimes the money doesn't always talk.
No.
And for me, it would have to be stupid money.
Yeah.
I mean, even at that, I'm not even bothered. But yeah, stupid money. So yeah, no, Souček for me is no wonder Barcelona are looking at him. I mean, they're struggling anyway. But any team around Europe would be looking at someone like Thomas Souček, and I think all the managers that have played against him have gone, "Holy shit, man, you found such a good player."
Yeah, I mean, I remember when Rio went. I was around then. I'm lying, people.
No,
but yeah, 18 million quid. We built a stand, and as you say, we bought such legends as Rigobert Song and Kamara, and
I had a
Ragenwald Sommer.
Oh, Raggy Sommer. I had a TT Kamara shirt. All right, I got. Wow. Yeah, I did.
You bought it.
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah.
You bought the only one that they ever sold.
I did. I had a TT Kamara shirt. Yeah. I've been mocked
2 years
by my
after
brother.
we sold him, we were relegated. That's the thing people forget. 2 years after Rio left, we was a second division
and I think
championship team.
Didn't TT Kamara not have like some lawsuit out against West Ham as well?
Probably.
Sure he did. I'm sure he did.
I related to him because I'm an overweight bald man too, so it's all right. It doesn't matter. It's all good. That's what we had in common. It was great.
Next one off the rank, we've got Xande Silva.
See ya.
Yeah.
Not seen enough.
Where is he on loan at, Duke?
Greece, somewhere in Greece, is he not?
What's the club, Duke?
Aris Thessaloniki, or
well
is
done.
that well good? Hey, I've heard you say
right.
it.
Thessaloniki, yeah, something like that. Yeah. You know what? He's played a couple of games. I've not seen enough.
That's the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you'd get a couple of mil for him. I'd happily take that. Do you know what? I feel bad saying it, but yeah, nah, not for me.
Well, I mean, he's on loan. I sort of looked at it the other day, and I wouldn't suggest that the Greek league, with the best will in the world, is the strongest league in Europe, or one of the strongest leagues in Europe. He's had 25 appearances and has got 3 goals as a striker.
Still's a massive fan.
Really?
Still thinks he's got an opportunity, but I just don't see it.
No, I don't. No,
not with those stats.
No.
So, who's next? Declan Rice.
Yeah, no brainer. Long term, no brainer. Fantastic midfielder, fantastic player. Can step into different positions. I mean, he's questionably our better centre half, best centre half, let alone our best centre midfielder. So yeah,
that's the question, isn't it? Do you play him like you say? He's probably our strongest centre back, but do we lose something by putting him at centre back?
You do.
You know, and that's the question, isn't it? It's
you do. You would lose him. Obviously, I mean, I think was it Mourinho's first ever game against West Ham for Tottenham? Was it the one we were losing? And
3-2 it ended, wasn't it?
Yeah, we were really close to getting that equaliser, and it was when he pulled Diop. Diop got pulled off, wasn't he? And Rice stepped back into the defence, and it made such a difference because our defence was just all over the shop that game. But Declan Rice just came back in and calmed everything down and drove West Ham forward from the back, really, to be honest. But you would lose shitloads in there. You would need to find a player of similar standards to be able to step in, to be able to allow him to do that. But now he's phenomenal. So build the squad teaming around him. Unbelievable.
Next one on the list, currently on loan at Brentford, Winston Reid.
My man.
Yeah.
My man. I'm not going to lie to you, right? I know he's got bad. I know he's had an awful injury. I know it.
Yeah.
And I hate it. I hate it. But for me, and I might get shut down. I don't care. 1 or 2 seasons.
Okay.
And I'll tell you why. Again, keen centre half, keen centre defender, keen. I like watching football, but defenders in particular, I've got such an interest in. He's been our best defender in the last decade, in my opinion.
Wouldn't argue with that.
Yeah, so
would not argue.
It goes back to last season at Upton Park. He absolutely dominated defence and had to control. A lot of our errors in that season were led from Ogbona's mistakes. So this is where the argument between me and Stel, if you ever watch the channel, me and Stel constantly going on about arguments about Ogbonna, Reid, all that sort of stuff. And it was always that Reid was sweeping up all the problems that Ogbonna was doing, and Reid was screaming and shouting game in and game out at Oggy all the time because Oggy was just couldn't help himself but he was stepping so far out sometimes. So obviously moving on, Reid's got injured throughout time. However, he's worked his way back, and currently I know Brentford have had a bit of a, since he's joined Brentford, they've had a bit of an up and down turmoil. They win a couple of games, they lose a couple of games, all that sort of stuff. But the manager has said that he's been one of the best players he's worked with. His ability in the defence, his fitness levels are back up there. But the thing with Winston Reid is he doesn't need to run all over the park. He was never that player in the first place. He never had legs. He was reasonably fast if he had to at short pace, like at short distances. But he would never run he would never be like a 10K sort of guy. He would just turn up, do the job, be a defender. And he's like what I described about Dawson. He watches the game. He's a very good reader of the game. And he's given so much to the club. He's injured himself. I know people are saying, he's taking the wages. It's not his fault. He's injured.
Oh, he's gone again. Carry on. I'll take it. Go on.
No, that's fine. He's injured, etc. But, I get that. However, Winston Reid for me is given so much to the club, and he needs to stay. Do you know what? This is where I put Winston Reid in our squad. Knows West Ham inside out. One of the longest serving players there. He will develop and help other younger players. And people always talk about Ginge when Ginge was at the club and he was being the backup centre half, and we were all so disappointed when Ginge left and never got the send off that he deserved. And sometimes when I don't follow a lot of social media, right? I don't follow a lot of social media, but however, when you see people tearing apart Winston Reid, I'm like, are you fucking joking me? Like, that guy's probably given us quite possibly more than what Ginge has done in his career at West Ham. Just if it wasn't for those 2 really, really bad injuries. And we've had a couple of people on the show saying, I've heard that they want rid of Winston Reid because his legs are gone. But then you've got the Brentford manager turning around me saying his legs haven't gone and he's been our best defender. So what do you believe? I think I would happily, I think he's still got 2 or 3 years, two years left on his.
Yeah, it was a 6-year deal he signed, wasn't it? Just before he got the injury.
Yeah, so he's got a couple of years still left in his thing. I mean, I know fans all over the shop would want to sell him, but not for me. I think he could be the 4th or 5th choice centre half for West Ham that could come on and do a job. I could be clutching at straws here, but I'm just because I'm a Winston Reid fan and I would have him in around the club 100%.
No, that's fair enough, mate. I think you're right. He's been arguably our best defender over the last decade, in my opinion. I do wonder whether the injury has meant that he can't play as a Premier League player, and obviously Championship might be more the level that he can operate in, which is why he's one of the better players at that level. Like I say, I'm just concerned that if he steps into the Premier League with Brentford, is he going to look like the Winston Reid of years gone past? I have my doubts, but we'll see. I wish him the best of luck. I hope they do get promoted, and next season at London Stadium they can turn up and we can give him a rapturous send off, as it were, belatedly.
Well, I hope they do get promoted and he plays for West Ham against Brentford. Wow,
of course.
I'm a Winston Reid fan. That's what it comes down to. So yeah.
No worries. So we're down to the last three. Next one is Darren Randolph.
I want us to sign a goalkeeper, but I don't think we will. If I was David Moyes, I would go and sign a goalkeeper. Therefore, I would sell Darren Randolph. Mm-hmm. Because I think he holds value and I think he's good. I think he's a good keeper as well. I don't dislike him in any way whatsoever. I think he's a good keeper. I think he's better than David Martin. I think he turns up and does a job when we need him. However, I'm willing to sell him if I'm David Moyes. Anton's David Moyes and wants to bring in another goalkeeper and he'll generate some finances for the club. So yeah, I know he's a Republic of Ireland international, but I'm willing to take the hit there.
So he's in the bin.
He's in the bin, but I'm not like happy with it. It's harsh, it is. But if I want to sign a goalkeeper, and if I'm in charge, I'm going to go and sign that goalkeeper, or bring a younger player through and give him the game time on the bench.
I've binned all three.
Wow,
you did. You were savage.
I've binned all three and kept trot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Evil.
I get that.
Evil. Angelo Ogbonna.
1 or 2 seasons. I'm still. So many people have said he's been on form for 2 seasons. I think he's only really been on form since Project Restart. People can fight me all they want. That's fine. That's the way it works. We've all got an opinion. But I think he's stepped up to the plate from Project Restart 100%. But you're talking about a defender that's played in a West Ham side that have conceded a lot of goals. Defence was our biggest problem. And it's questionably, since Winston Reid got his big injury, was where things really went to pot. And my concern with Angelo Ogbonna is that I've said it so many times, he steps out of play so many times in a game. He does it. He still does it. However, he has stepped up to the plate and he has started to, I don't know if Stuart Pearce has come in and worked wonders. I find it's ever been since the Stuart Pearce and the backroom staff has been brought in, our defence has started to shore up a little bit. And maybe they've finally realised you can't play 2 similar centre-halves beside each other. They've got to be a little bit different, especially in the modern game. But I think you're now talking about the real Italian defenders coming out in Oggy. And maybe that's what the backroom staff are doing. So I think he can definitely offer that for us. And you're going to need an Oggy. He's got international experience, European experience. If we're going to Europe, you're going to need an Oggy there who knows exactly what he's doing in the back. So yeah, 1 or 2 seasons. And he's at age as well. He's at that age, isn't he?
Yeah, 32 going on 33 now.
The funny thing is, I wouldn't even be surprised if an Italian club was willing to pay quite a decent amount of money for him.
Yeah.
Because they always make they can somehow prolong footballers' careers past 35 if they need to. So I wouldn't be surprised.
But it also comes down to the fact that with the Italian clubs, if heaven forbid we don't get into Europe next year, heaven forbid, he has the distinction of being trained for X amount of years in his home country, and this is the thing for me with the with this ruling for the Europeans, the Champions League competitions. So the reason that Man City had Scott Carson on their books, so then they could have 3 more spaces for foreign players in the Champions League squad. So Ogbonna is trained for so many years in Italy, in his home country, between the ages of 16 and 21 or wherever it works. If an Italian club come in for him, we hold the premium on that, because by doing that, they can have extra foreigners in their squad for the Champions League. Same as if, for instance, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, or another club in the Champions League come in for Pablo Fornals. We hold the premium on that because he was trained for a certain amount of time in Spain as a homegrown player. Therefore, if they want to buy him from us, we hold the premium. So, as you just said there, they will probably, if the Italian team in the Champions League or European Europa League come in for him, we can turn around and go 15, 20, 25 million, because they'll have to pay it, because he'll be considered homegrown for them. So, I think on that side of it.
Yeah, I think like. I think people would be interested. I genuinely believe people would be interested in Ogbonna after the season he's put in. Definitely. I don't think we'll sell him.
No.
I'm saying I would keep him, and it sounds like I'm being really harsh on him, because I know a lot of fans have thought he's been fantastic. I think he's been great. He's definitely not my hammer of the year. People think I've got a dislike to him. I don't have a dislike to him. I struggle to forget how many mistakes he's made in the past. And they're being kind of like, people always say, oh, well, I've not seen the mistakes. And I'm like, well, I do genuinely look at the defence a lot. I just can't help it. I like, just like looking at defensive players and what they have and what the skill set they've got. So if 1 or 2 seasons, I think he can definitely bring, you've got, if you look at that 1 or 2 seasons list there, and you look at Winston Reid and Ogbonna, and, I know they're a little bit older, and both have had bad injuries, of course, as well. But, you've got a couple of players there that can bring on the Baptistes and the Alessis into the full setup, and definitely have them there for that. So, and Dawson's in there as well, of course. So
yeah, absolutely. So we can see who's left. So Canning Town's finest, the club captain, 521 club appearances and 60 goals. I present to you Mark James Noble, squad number 16.
Delighted he signed the 1-year contract. I would put him in there 1 or 2 seasons. Mm-hmm. Just as long as he's played, and I think he, played in the right manner. Coming on, showing up a game for the last 10, 15 minutes, he's definitely got the legs for that. Yeah. Starting against Manchester United, I ain't going to tear him apart. Do you know what? He's started a couple of games as of late. He's actually been one of our better performers. But I think the sentiment behind starting him has been wrong, because we've set up defensively, because we're playing Rice, Souček and Noble. Yeah. But people also forget, though, in Project Restart, that we played a lot of those games with those 3 players. And they were actually doing this kind of triangle effect. Like when Souček went forward, Rice and Noble were sitting. And then Souček would come back and Rice would go forward, and Noble and Souček were sitting. And then when Noble went forward, Rice and Souček were sitting. And it was kind of effective for West Ham. And if you actually think about Project Restart to now, the amount of team players that have played in different positions, the amount of formations that David Moyes has played is like, it's, there's consistency in our defence, but everywhere else, like, there's been so many different changes. Yeah, and it's like we were scared earlier in the season to go from 5 at the back to 4, but we made the transition and we did it. Then we were suddenly scared to go back to 5, and we made the transition and we did it. But I think you listen, Mr. West Ham, you just said it there, the amount of appearances he's had, he can still turn up and do a job. I actually quite like him when he plays really quite far forward, because he's such a clever footballer.
Because he played as a number 10 after Project Restart the last few games, didn't he?
Yeah, he's really he can penetrate the ball, he can penetrate defences with his pass. He's got a really good vision. And also, though, listen, when you've got a guy who loves the club to the level that he does, you need a player like that to be in and around that squad, left, right, and centre, as long as he's managed right. So I was delighted when he signed the 1-year contract, and I was a bit gutted when he said that'll be my last year. But I get it. But I think West Ham have got something lined up for him. But if I was Moyes, if I was in that position, I'd want him in and around the squad. I mean, think about the passion. Think about, when he just gets the crowd G'd up, and he's one of us on the park. He's living out the dream. He's living 100%. The dream.
Yeah. said that over and over again. That's he's doing what we all want to do. I mean, you say West Ham have got something lined up for him. Something that was mentioned across social media just after he signed. Actually, was director of football. Now, I for one believe that he has forged some bloody good relationships with other clubs and other players, other managers, just because of the way he is. He's such a likable guy. And I think director of football would be perfect for him because, he creates those relationships. He can make good on those relationships when it comes to, bringing in other players from other clubs, brokering those deals with other clubs. That means that, one of the Sullivan boys doesn't have to do it. At least we've got someone who's got a bit of common sense doing it rather than sending out a tweet. Sorry, Robert, we didn't really want you coming to play for our club. All that bullshit goes out the window. Put Noble in charge of that. And I think I one day in our own stadium, maybe the Red Bull Arena, somewhere down the line, singing Mark Noble's Claret and Blue Army as he leads, or even at Wembley when he leads the club out to an FA Cup final. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we might do it next year with him still here. But if we can't do it as a player, we'll bloody do it as a manager. And I can see him in a suit and tie leading us out at Wembley for a cup final.
It's funny, people get so pissed off when he comes on the park and he takes the captain's armband off of Declan Rice.
Doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Doesn't bother me in the slightest either. It does not bother me in the slightest. It's like, do you know what? It's actually a little bit of respect. And that's a good thing to have from a young player. I can't believe people would moan that Mark Noble doesn't come on and demand that captain's armband.
No.
He doesn't come on and go, you're giving that to me. And do you know what? Mark Noble he's the sort of guy that would be like, why are we not all captains? Like, we all should be captains. We all should be doing this because you want to play for this club. So it doesn't bother me he gets the captain's armband. It actually annoys me that people dig him out. Still digs him out all the time because of it. So
bitches and moans about it,
yeah. So I'm like,
the armband is the club captain. If he's on that pitch, he should be the one wearing the armband. And the fact that Dec, like you say, shows the respect that Declan Rice doesn't kick up a stink when he has to give over that armband. In fact, he chases Noble up and down the pitch. Noble's like, fuck off, leave me alone. I'm trying to get in a position. Go away, wait till it goes off. Hang on a minute. And Declan Rice is like, come back. I love all of that because it's, like you say, massive sign of respect. And you've got to bear in mind, Declan Rice has been on the sidelines for a good number of years watching Noble in that first team. And the fact that he has now the point he's come to play with him, play alongside him, and now to a degree outlast him and take over from him. He's going to become West Ham's new favourite son once at the end of next season when Nobes calls it a day. Although he's not a West Ham boy and we know he's a Chelsea, he grew up a Chelsea fan. Listen, he's going to be West Ham's new number one son once Mark Noble walks away from this club. And I for one look forward to the fact that, like I said in another video, we need to keep progressing to be able to keep the likes of Declan Rice at the club. The second we stop moving forward and we stagnate will be the time that Declan Rice walks away. He won't walk away if we finish 8th this season, we finish 7th next season, we finish 6th the season after, because it's progress. He won't walk away from that because he sees it as a job in progress. The second we start stagnating and start going backwards is when he's going to walk away. And you can't blame him for that because he's the sort of player that deserves a trophy cabinet full of medals and caps and everything else at the end of his career. He really does.
And you kind of made a valid point there about Mark Noble being kind of director of football, and either whatever capacity he is, if you are trying to sign players and you're bringing them into the Olympic Stadium for a tour, there's only one player I want to take them on that tour, and that's Mark Noble, because he's probably going to sell them that club. And that's the sort of player you want in and around that squad, and he'll G you up. And I know he got a lot of crap over the Burnley game, the situation on the park, etc. But that just passion, blood but everything was just, emotions were running high, and there's not a doubt in my mind that he'd done everything from the good of his heart, and he's got the good of the heart of West Ham there, and it's yeah. So yeah, good to see him. Glad to see him kicking about, staying for another season, and hopefully it's longer in a different capacity when he does stop his footballing. But I mean, I still think he's. I mean, I don't know how old he is, but he'll play.
33.
He can play another couple of seasons. I still think he could do another 2 seasons at West Ham, but that's a decision that everyone's made. But he could go on and find another club easily. He could go and play in America if he really wanted to.
He'd rule in America. His vision and passing, and his ability to keep the ball, he would absolutely smash it. He really would.
So he could go and get a paycheck or what? I don't know what, but I think if I was West Ham, I'd be doing everything in my power to keep him there. So yeah.
Here's a question for you boys: if we was in normal circumstances and everybody was going to the football,
yes,
does Mark Noble retire this season?
Well, he's not retired.
No. What I'm saying is that was the contract signed to extend his time with the club for a year?
To give him a buy to the club?
Yeah.
No. You're saying yes, but I'm saying no. I'm saying no because I genuinely believe what I just said. I think he's definitely got another year in him. I can't think of any other player who would want to come on the park with 10 minutes to go to protect a 1-0 lead. Or 2-0, or to shore up that defence, to shore up that midfield.
But the question isn't does he still have something to offer? The question is if you were Mark Noble and you had fans in the stadium, rather than worrying about signing another contract now, would you have called it a day? And especially calling it a day with this season that we're currently having, possibly could be the best season in living memory, and that's not including the likes of the FA Cup wins and the the Cup Winners' Cup win and the World Cup win. Let's not kid ourselves. But I personally do. I personally think he would have, if the fans had been in the stadium this season, I think this may well have been his last, and I think he would have worked straight into maybe an academy coaching role alongside Potts and Konchesky, Carlton Cole, the likes of those, and then I think he would have been looking to move further forward. I think the fact that COVID has kind of put paid to fans being in the stadium has kind of nudged him along to sign that 1-year deal, in my opinion. Personally.
Fair enough. I'm just playing.
Doesn't count for a lot, but
Okay, so
my opinion doesn't count for a lot, but
nah,
it is what it is. It's what we're here for, right? Isn't it? Opinion?
Absolutely.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I'm just going to put this full screen, ladies and gentlemen. So this is Anton's tier list. So at the top in the long-term player 3+ season section, we've got Antonio, Bowen, Soufal, Fornals, Lingard, Soucek, and Rice. 1 or 2 seasons, Anderson, Ben Rama, Cresswell, Dalton, Fredericks, Fabianski, Johnson, Matsuwaku, Reed, Ogbonna, and Noble. In the not sure pile, we have Diop, Martin, and Yamalenko. That's a first. And then in the senior pile, we've got Balbuena, Lanzini, Silva, and Randolph. There we go, gentlemen. That is Anton's tier list, all done and dusted.
That is my tier list.
For better or worse.
That is why I'm sitting in my living room doing a YouTube video, but not the manager.
Well, we're all the same, mate. We're all the same. So I greatly appreciate you sparing your time, mate.
Yep, no, that's fine. I've really enjoyed it, and thank you very much for having me on. Yeah, 100%. And make sure you subscribe to Forged from Iron.
And for any of you, and by the way, no, little bit of news. 151. There you go. So of you 151 that are watching, if any of you don't know that Anton is one of the main men at Irons United, so these are all the platforms you can find them on. As I say, you've got plenty of good content. Get yourselves over there, subscribe, like, share, all the usual bits and pieces. Get yourself over there. There's some good stuff you can really get your teeth into. Final thing before we go, ladies and gentlemen, is I'd like to ask you if you could see your way clear to donating to this particular cause. Isla Caton's a 6-year-old girl suffering with a really rare and aggressive form of cancer called neuroblastoma. There is no treatment for this on the NHS. The family have got to stop what they're doing, put their lives on hold, and take this girl to wherever they can to try and save her life, whether that's Barcelona, the United States, anywhere it is in the world, they can get the treatment to save her life. That's what they got to do. Whilst they're doing this, they've obviously got to pay for the treatment, they've got to pay for the accommodation, living costs and all the rest of it. And also they've still got to pay their rent, their mortgage, their bills in the UK whilst this is going on. Really expensive, really stressful in the middle of a global pandemic. It's absolute hell on earth. The clock's ticking. You know, she needs this treatment like right now. So we're asking you to put some money in the pot. You've got a PayPal, you've got a Just Giving. If you can put £1 in, £10, £100, whatever the amount is, it will be accepted. And we thank you very much indeed for putting into the contribution. If you can't, because obviously the last 12 months have been hell for all of us, not a problem. All I ask you to do is to just share this message far and wide. We need to try and keep the momentum going, guys. I say every day now is critical. This girl really needs the help like 5 minutes ago. It's as simple as that. Thank you very much indeed for listening. So, Anton, we are at the end. I'm going to hit end broadcast very shortly. We've obviously got the game on Sunday. You think 3 points coming our way?
I'm going to remain positive, yeah. I'm going to stick with the 3 points. As long as we change up something a little bit. It's not much, but just a little bit. But Lingard is going to have such a positive effect on it. And I think Arsenal's defence will struggle with that. And I think we might see a little bit of the Antonio that we're needing to see again as well, because having Lingard back will support him. So, yeah, 3 points.
Enough. Fingers crossed. On that note, gentlemen, we shall leave it. Only one thing left to say, guys. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.